This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. As most of you probably know, there is a special election occurring in the great state of Tennessee later tonight. And this is a must-win race for the GOP. And it's not some random state legislative seat that 5 people vote in. No, we're talking about a special election for the House. And this is a must-win race because if Republicans lose, it would be a flip to the Democrat Party, which would already make the very slim majority in the House for Republicans even slimmer. And you could argue, if they lose tonight, the House majority is all but dead. Already you have people like Thomas Massie, MTG, they're causing a lot of problems. And I know MTG is resigning in January, but still, you already have a very slim majority, and you have to deal with people like MTG and Massie and Don Bacon. And now it might become an even slimmer one if Republicans lose. This will be a flip to Democrats if they win tonight. And it's crazy we're even talking about this. We're not talking about a Trump plus 1 seat, Trump plus 2. We're talking about Trump plus 22. A very Republican seat in Tennessee. Now, it's not Democrat, not slightly Republican. This should be a safe Republican seat. Now, you look at the results of 2024, and yeah, it's R plus 22 down ballot for Mark Green. So it's not one of those races where, oh, the Republican down ballot underperforms by 25 on average. No, this is a seat that, no matter who the Republican is, they should win by a big margin. Now, to be fair to the GOP, with these type of elections, it is lower turnout. And like we've said many times before, lower turnout helps Democrats now. They are the party of low turnout. The less people that vote, the more likely it is for Democrats to win. So yeah, you would expect some kind of shift towards Democrats. And that's why a 1-point swing, Democrats would celebrate like they won the Super Bowl or whatever. But most of the time, that's nothing. That's a 1-point shift. That's a down ballot race. That's one thing. Problem is, it's not looking like just a 1 or 2 point shift. Even a 5-point swing wouldn't be the end of the world. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about potentially a 20 to 25 point shift towards Democrats. And what makes this even worse is, like I said, we're not talking about a random state legislative seat that no one cares about. We're not talking about even a governor election. This is a race for Congress. This is a federal election that, even though it's probably a bit more Democrat because of the environment, should still be super Republican. The fact that we're even thinking, oh, there's a chance Democrats can win here, this should be a massive red flag for the GOP. If they're struggling here, what do you think's going on in any state? Texas, Georgia, Florida, Ohio, Michigan. You see the problem? This should be an easy win for the GOP. If not a little bit closer, fine. But really? We're talking about this potentially being a very close race? And both sides appear to agree with that fact that this is a very close race. As of now, they have spent $6 million in spending for this race from super PACs and the candidates themselves. $6 million. That's not just a tiny amount. Most special elections, they spend a little bit here and there, but $6 million, that's quite a lot of money. And both sides are spending everything they can on this race. You had Mike Johnson doing a rally. Trump did a tele-rally yesterday. Hell, even President Trump got back on Twitter. And I know this doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but really, President Trump, he stopped using Twitter for months. But out of nowhere, he began to use it to promote the special election, telling people, hey, today there's a special election coming out. And this is just common sense. I don't get why Trump's administration, they have not used Twitter as much as they should have. Just for the simple fact that, wait, you're going to reach tens of millions of people. So many people, they didn't even know a special election was going on. And a lot of them, they're on Twitter. I'm not saying this is going to shift the election by 25 points or whatever, but even President Trump realized, oh, wait a minute, this special election, it's looking a lot closer than it should be. And you know what? I'm going to get back on Twitter to promote the election. Get the word out that there's a special election coming up. Republicans, they have to win it, because if they lose it, like I said, the majority is basically dead. The majority is all but dead if they don't win tonight. Now, as for the state of the race, because, that at least a little bit of context is very Republican. Both sides seem to think they have a chance of winning. I still think Republicans are the favorites. But right now, I think Republicans do win. Even before today, I was thinking, like I said, Republicans probably win by a couple points. But based on what we're hearing and seeing on the ground as of now, and again, anything could happen, but as of now, it's looking pretty good for the Republicans. And I know betting markets are not perfect, but look at this. The overwhelming majority of people are betting on the GOP to win. And the margin of victory is going up in the betting markets like crazy right now. Does that mean that he's going to win by 25 points? No. But right now, the betting markets, they are shifting towards Republicans in this race. And that's for a bunch of reasons. The big thing is turnout. Turnout is looking a lot better than expected. This was the X factor. It doesn't matter how much persuasion or whatever Democrats had in this race. It doesn't matter. If turnout was halfway decent for Republicans, they would win this race by 15 points. And it seems like right now, their voters are voting. Let's tweet right here. Williamson County, which is a very Republican area, as of now, is at roughly 7,000 Election Day votes. And currently on pace for around 14,000 Election Day votes by the end of the day, which is a huge number, way higher than most people thought. When you factor in the 14,000 early votes, that's roughly 28,000 total votes in this county, and it might be even higher. We'll see what happens. But back in 2024, there was roughly 46,000 votes in Williamson County. So yeah, of course there's a drop-off with it being a special election, but if you're the Democrats, and let's just say it ends up with 30,000 votes in Williamson, that's not that bad of a drop-off for the GOP. In fact, it's actually pretty good. That is way better than expected, because a lot of people thought that with it being a special election, with the weather supposedly being kind of bad, even though it sounds like it's not as bad as they thought it was, there was going to be a big turnout drop. It was just a question as to how big it was. And yeah, these voters, this is going to be more Democrat environment. Let's be clear about that. It's more Democrat than 2024, of course. But if Republicans are even getting kind of closer in turnout, they're going to win this race by a big margin. The only pathway for Democrats was one of two things. A, they won over so many Trump voters that it's just basically impossible. You have to win like 30% of Trump voters to win in that scenario, and that's very unlikely. Or the most likely outcome is bank on low turnout. You have very low turnout everywhere in the district. 5 people vote, you're going to win. That was what they were banking on. And even the early voting, the turnout was not the best for Republicans, but some of the areas they needed to vote, they were in fact voting. And it looked kind of even in some areas. And Election Day, this was the deciding factor. It's looking like they're voting. Election Day voters, they're getting out and voting in large numbers. Maybe even bigger than we expect. Again, it's only one county, and the same thing is happening in, let's see here, right here. Yeah, Williamson County. It's expected to be about 28,000 votes. Trump plus 32. So, yeah, right now, it's looking pretty good for Republicans in Tennessee 7th. But still, it is a special election. This is where things can get very wacky. You don't know for sure who's voting. But honestly, if these voters are in R plus 90 areas, they're probably Republicans. Even if they shift to the left a little bit. It's not looking like it's enough for Democrats to win. But still, anything can happen. And the fact that we're even considering this race as potentially a competitive seat, that's pathetic. Now, again, it may be a blowout. That's still entirely possible. I do think Republicans, they win by a kind of a decent margin. Maybe not by 20, but, by 5 or 6 points, which for the district standards is bad. but it's not as bad as some people were claiming. Maybe it's Trump plus 10, maybe it's Trump plus 5 or R plus 15. Who knows? But Republicans, they have to wake up immediately. The fact that we're panicking about Tennessee 7th, what do you think's going to happen in a Trump plus 5 seat? If you're struggling to win in Tennessee 7th, you're screwed next year. You have to figure this shit out now. Because even with low turnout and swings against Republicans because of approval ratings, whatever, you should not be struggling here. If this was Trump plus 2, that's one thing. That's a different story. But Trump plus 22? Really? A Trump plus 22 seat, you're struggling in. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Anything could theoretically happen with this being a special election. If you live in the district and haven't voted yet, get out and vote. This is a must-win for Republicans. They lose this seat, the majority's already dead. Maybe not technically, maybe it's technically Republican, but you're never going to get anything through with Thomas Massie, with MTG and Don Bacon. You're going to get nothing through for the next couple of years. Now, of course, I should mention, we are talking about a special election. So the results, they can be absolutely wonky, but I would say based on what we're hearing right now, with the turnout, with the demographics, there's really only two scenarios that I would argue are either an actually good night for Democrats, like objectively good, they won, it's them winning outright. If they win this race outright, they're in a really good position for next year, because you can argue, well, if it's a Republican plus 5 victory, maybe the electorate was very Democrat and that's not going to happen for next year. We'll see, of course, with the final turnout, but still, if Democrats win this race, there's no excuse for that. But if Republicans win this race by 30, you could argue, oh, that's not good for Dems either. Because, yeah, it's looking like turnout's going to be kind of okay for the GOP, but it should still be a sizable shift towards Dems. And if Republicans win by 30 and outrun Trump, which is not going to happen, I would consider that a successful night. Even plus 20, that wouldn't be that bad of a night. It's just when you get below 10 points, that's a different story, especially within 5. In that scenario, yeah, that's not a good night. But Democrats, if they win the seat, next year is going to be a lot worse than anyone expects. But again, anything can happen the next year. So we'll see what happens tonight. Turnout's going to decide everything. We'll see the final margins. But yeah, one of those races that could either be nothing happens, where it's like Trump R plus 10 or whatever, or R plus 15, or it's a big upset and Democrats win, or Republicans win by 50 or something. But we'll see later tonight. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.